What is going on, guys? This is Splurge, your coach of the Bracknell Beedrills, bringing you BBL Season 2, Week 4. This week we are playing Matt O'Shea of the Montreal Milotics. He's currently on a record of 2-1. We have had a less than ideal start to the season, losing out, going 0-3 in the first 3 weeks. And so now we face down Matt, who has got really quite a scary squad to deal with. Which includes Dialga, Greninja Protein, Mew, Infernape, Tangrowth, Slurpuff, Quagsire, Rotom, Volbeat, Dusclops, Glalie, and Mega Aerodactyl. Now, so what I got out of this in kind of prep for this was that, so kind of like the first 5 Mons and Mega Aerodactyl were kind of, they're reasonably likely to turn up, but so there was a decent kind of reason for any of Slurpuff, Quagsire, or Rotom to turn up. And so what I did was I kind of split how I wanted to go about this. What I really wanted to do was try and wear stuff down with Mega Gyarados, Giratina, and Excelgor. From there, be able to set up a Trick Room with Solgaleo, do some work with that, and also put Lurantis in a position to really start putting in some work and snowballing. So I've probably listed out half my team there. So what we're going to see here in the team prep is that the first Mon that I decided to bring was Solgaleo. I must admit that whilst this was an okay game plan, my prep was shocking. So what we see here is we have a Solgaleo running Ockerberry, full Metal Body, Morning Sun, Trick Room, Sunsteel Strike, Earthquake with 244 HP and 252 Adamant Attack. The Ockerberry was for Infernape and possibly a Fire Blast Dialga. And so what I failed to anticipate was that for Dialga, you'll see when we get further into the game and stuff, but so I forgot that I had 2 4x week Mons to ground. That's all I'll say. So it may have been more beneficial to run a different berry. But so the Ockerberry was for Fire Blast, Dialga, and Infernape. Sunsteel Strike and Earthquake are relatively powerful to be able to touch his team. Does well versus Dialga. The Greninja puts in a chunk versus us, but so we're able to return a chunk if somehow we manage to live. Versus me, Sunsteel Strike does anywhere between, I think, about close to half to 25% depending on the spread. Infernape, Earthquake does huge amounts of damage. Tangrowth we can't really touch. Slurpuff, that was another thing. So at +6 with a Drain Punch, Slurpuff, it doesn't KO us from full with Drain Punch +6. Whereas Sunsteel Strike returns back with definitely a kill, I believe. Quagsire we can't really touch, Rotom neither, and then so from there, the only other Mon really worth talking about is Mega Aerodactyl, where Sunsteel Strike puts in an amount of work, however Earthquake does a chunk to us. We then have Sylveon running a Kabia Berry. This was for Gunk Shot, Greninja Protein. We're running Heal Bell, Hyper Voice, Calm Mind, Wish. This was a soft setup choice in case I was given the opportunity by Mew or Tangrowth. Heal Bell here puts in a reasonable amount of work just to generally preserve my squad, and then Wish as well helps out both. Oh dear. It helps out both Solgaleo and Giratina. We then come on to Mega Gyarados, which is a really, this is one of my issues with some of my prep sometimes, is that this is the substitute Waterfall Crunch Earthquake set, and this can't do anything to Tangrowth. However, if we're able to get Tangrowth out of the way early doors, this does put in a reasonable amount of work versus the squad. There's a few things that can really chunk it down, minus like a Thunderbolt from something, or a Dragon Pulse from Dialga. We then come on to Giratina. So this is an interesting set. We are quite bulky on both sides, just so that we're trying to ensure that nothing does too much damage to us. We're running Protect, Dragon Pulse, Hex, and Defog. Protect is just Pressure Stall to a certain extent. Dragon Pulse and Hex is Stab, and we're running Defog, as Giratina is our removal for this week. We then have quite a physically defensive Lurantis running Life Orb, Leaf Storm Superpower Synthesis Knockoff. This... excuse me, again. This does a reasonable amount across the board, as also has the potential to snowball to some extent, and Leaf Storm, unless Quagsire is fully Spadef, Rindo Berry, Oko's Quagsire, I believe. And then finally, we have a Choice Specs Excelgor running Toxic Spikes, Water Shuriken, Bug Buzz, Focus Blast. Nearly max speed, max special attack, modest as well. This can put in the finest of work here. It does a huge number to Mew, it does a huge number to Greninja, it also does a huge number to Dialga, and also Tangrowth. This was mainly kind of like the core breaker, given half a chance. It was quite instrumental. It is quite instrumental into how I go about this game, because with Toxic Spikes up, Giratina starts doing really nice work with Hex, and then kind of its spread is able to lay out a reasonable amount of damage across the board. So what we see when we get into the battle is that he has brought basically the 6 predictable mons, with Infinite, Mew, Greninja Protein, Tangrowth, Mega Aerodactyl, and Dialga. I lead here with Gyarados. Excuse me. I view his kind of 3 possible leads to be Infinite, Greninja, or Mega Aerodactyl. All 3 of which Gyarados does quite well against, and depending on what's in, I might decide to Mega or not. But so we get into the game here, and so we see Matt here with this beautiful sprite. Obviously, of course, go see Matt's side of the video after this. But so what we see here is Calgary, the Infinite. I wonder why it's called Calgary. Is leading off. So we lead off with Gyarados, and so with a lead Infinite, I've seen recently that Stealth Rock's Infinite is kind of making a rise again. So what I feel I'm confident to do here is that either what we're going to see here is Stealth Rocks or a switch. So I Mega Up and then substitute, which is it's a bit of a brave play if that was to click close combat, but I was relatively confident. I then go for Crunch on the Tangrowth, which does about 20%. And so reveals the Rocky Helmet, which shows that this is probably a fully this is a fully defensive Tangrowth of actually not fully defensive, but it's definitely got defense investment. And so the Giga Drain breaks our sub, so we switch out into Excelgor. And so Matt makes quite a nice play into Infinite. And so this is basic. This game this moves the size of the game because I was such an idiot. I decided to click Toxic Spikes because I was predicting that he was going to click Stealth Rocks. But Matt just, makes a simple play, goes for Flamethrower, and Excelgor goes down. At which point, I had my head in my hands playing at this point. As so everything became much harder to deal with, especially Dialga. And so what we see here is that I've brought in Giratina at this point, and so the Infinite goes for a Hidden Power Ice, and we return with a Dragon Pulse. The HP Ice is doing enough that it should just about break our sub, which is kind of unfortunate, but so it means that it's better just to go straight for the Dragon Pulse here and sack it off. He gets the crit, which is it kind of matters, but not in the long run. I'm comfortable that I could get back the HP. And so we were able to take out Infinite, which was a bit of an issue to the team at this moment, but it did what it needs to do. Now, so Dialga is a bit of an interesting one because I was trying to work out just exactly what its spread was. And so here what we see is I go for the Protect, as so if he went for a Draco Meteor, then I couldn't live it, but if he went for a Dragon Pulse, I should be able to live it. However, instead of going for either of those, Dialga goes straight for the Substitute, and he plays my own tricks against me, which is annoying. As so now this Dialga is 5 times more of an issue, as I don't really know what to do against it. I switch in Sylveon here because I'm trying to suss out what exactly his set is. And so he's revealed Substitute, Dragon Pulse, and now Flash Cannon, which I predicted that Flash Cannon and Dragon Pulse were going to be there if he was a subset. But so I wasn't sure what his last move would be, whether it was going to be Flamethrower or not, and how much of an issue that would be. So I go for the Wish on the Flash Cannon, which I knew was going to take a reasonable chunk too. Unfortunately, I think we get slightly high rolled, but so it doesn't matter too much because at the moment I'm just trying to understand what this Dialga is here to do, which is bad in and of itself, as so it means that I'm taking unnecessary chip on half my Mons before really understanding what I need to do and breaking it up. And so I didn't want to stay in here either, because if it goes Flamethrower or Earth Power, we're kind of stuffed again. But so what we see here is his final move is Earth Power, and so I view it to be a good time to just break the sub of this with Earthquake, with Gyarados, sack it off at this point, but it should mean that I have a Dialga now that is out of sub, which is able to start to take some damage. It was less than an ideal situation to be in because I'm now 5 and 4 down, with probably my nicest kind of Chipmon, which should have done what Dialga was doing to him, down, and also Excelgor, which was like the linchpin for the game. But yeah, so I bring in Lurantis here, and so I was confident that I could take 2. And so he clicks Superpower, and so actually Dialga can't take 2 of these, but me, in my stupidity, forget to take into account Life Orb chip. So at this point, Lurantis can't take a second Dragon Pulse. This is why I say that this was a terribly, terribly prepped for game. So we switch out again to Solgaleo on the switch to the Dialga, as so at this point Dialga would go down to an Earthquake, and so we stay in here. As so I was trying to work out what exactly to go for, and so I decided to hit the Trick Room now. As so it was a good time to try and get Lurantis back in, and if I could get the Synthesis off, I could go for it. And so at this point I was on a 50-50 choice about whether I should go Sylveon or Lurantis, as so if the Tangrowth, if Matt immediately switched back into something, like I think Dialga, I couldn't actually KO him at this point with a superpower. At which point Lurantis is taking it's a turn of Trick Room wasted. Whereas so if the Tangrowth went for Leech Seed, then I'd be quids in. But so you saw kind of I've rambled through half of what's going on here with Sylveon dying. But so the Tangrowth did indeed go for Leech Seed instead, which is a bit unfortunate because I wanted to try and get Lurantis in and get some HP back. But so we have since now managed to click a wish, drop Sylveon, so Giratina should now be able to get back up to full health. And so what we see here is that so Hex, I believe, was a roll of some sort. It was very unlikely to KO. But so with Toxic, it could have, were it not for the fact that he went for the Leech Seed, which I mean, this is just life. I don't know how to sound positive about this game. This is hard. But yeah, so we now have Tangrowth switching out to regenerate back up again. I decided to switch out back into Lurantis, so I was expecting not Dialga to switch in. I wasn't sure what. But so here I decided to sack Lurantis, which was probably a bad idea. That was another misplay. I probably could have switched into Solgaleo, but I didn't want to get caught on the switch. So we're a min-speed Solgaleo, so I couldn't take two. But so now we go into Solgaleo, and so because of the fact that we didn't go last turn, what's gonna happen here is that so we're not actually gonna KO the Dialga with this Earthquake, which is unfortunate because it's hanging around another darn turn, and it means that we're probably gonna have to do some pressure stalling with Giratina. As so, if the Dialga went down, then I had a very slim chance to bring the game far closer than it should have been. However, at this point, I spend too much time trying to be patient and whistling down this Dialga with Giratina. So it meant that what we'll see is that so I go for a couple of protects and before being able to attack the Dialga. So I want to be with the best amount of health to take the Dragon Pulse, and so it's all about just trying to preserve my health to a point where so I'm able to have the best chance to be able to pressure stall out the rest of his squad. As much as that was highly unlikely, you're still just looking for the best way to. You're still looking for kind of like the win cons, because as we all know, hacks as a win con, you never know what can happen within a game. But so the Greninja comes out here, and so same thing applies. There's Toxic Spikes still down, which means that so I'm able to pressure stall plus Toxic Stall this Greninja for a little bit as it goes for Ice Beam. We're trying to look to get above 50% health again, as so it puts me above 50%. I think it put me back into the realms of having a very slim chance to be able to survive an Ice Beam. And so what we do is we switch into Solgaleo again, because at the point when this Greninja has taken another 3 chips of Toxic Poison, it should be that Dragon Pulse could KO from Giratina. So what we see here is that so the Greninja is still getting progressively chipped down. Solgaleo has just gone down, and so Giratina comes back in and starts pressure stalling again. We go for one more protect before just trying to be as fortunate as possible. But so what we see here is that the Greninja still goes for the Ice Beam, but it doesn't need to go for anything else. And so we don't actually hit 50%, which I think was the key number. But what we see here is that the Ice Beam pops off and KOs the Giratina. We lose 4-0, which again, it's a hard pill to swallow, but I knew that weeks 3 to 5, and probably 6 as well, because I hadn't even realised that we'd then also have Bird week 6. We're now 0-4. This is not going well. And so I can now tell you that transactions have been made for week 6 onwards, which means that I now finally have fighting types, so dark types won't be so much of an issue, hopefully. Crossed fingers, all of that stuff. But yeah, so very well played to Matt. I mean, I don't want to say that the game was finished at the point when Excel Ball went down, but so it was a stupid play nonetheless on my part. I will wholeheartedly take that. I just kind of the last couple of weeks have been a little bit interesting in terms of hacks for me. If you follow TBL at all, I have had a couple of rough weeks with hacks there, and generally this game was caught in the middle of very much a losing streak, and a streak of where my prep has really been subpar. I'm looking to change that coming into this week, as I have Gypsy this week, and the last thing I need is for to go winless through the first half of the season. We're going to have to pull something incredibly spicy for week 5. Gypsy's gone undefeated so far with 2 6-0s, I believe. 2 6-0s, 2 2-0s. He's on like plus 16, 4-0. I'm on like 0-4, minus 16 or something stupid. But yeah, what was I saying? That got away from me. Very well played, Matt. I hope you guys enjoyed me getting progressively more depressed about my situation. But yeah, I hope you guys all have a fantastic week. If any of you are interested, I now have my own personal Discord server. Please send help. I need all the help I can get for my front office. Really looking to try and get a solid set of people behind me. Not that there are already a set of people behind me, but so the more the merrier, and hopefully the more people that can slap me around the face whenever I decide to bring idiot sets. But yeah, have a good week, everybody, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.